Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carmen. Welcome. Have you entered 5D consciousness and are living in the 5D and don't even realize it? We're going to talk about that in this video today. That's right, the 5 signs that you have shifted into 5D consciousness, 5D reality, whatever you like to call it. We're going to talk about that in this video today. But let's talk about what 5D is first, because some of you might not even know what 5D is. So 5D is basically a way of saying the 5th dimension, right? When people say the word 5D, what they're talking about is 5th dimensional consciousness, okay? We're talking about the 5th dimension. So we are in the 3rd dimension, okay? We cannot see everything. We don't know the plan. We don't know our purpose. We don't know the master plan for what our soul came up with before we were born. You know, what is our reason for being here and what's going to happen, right? We cannot see any of that from the 3rd dimension, right? But then the 5th dimension, which is the dimension of your spirit guides, right? This is the dimension in which your spirit guides live. They're not in the same dimension as us. They're in the 5th dimension. That's why you can't see them. And in the 5th dimension, they are seeing things from a much higher vantage point than everybody else, okay? We're down on the ground and we can't see anything, but they are standing on top of the building, okay? So when you're standing on top of the building, you can see all the roads. You can see all the paths. So that's the way the spirits of the 5th dimension are. They have a higher vantage point than us. They could see things that we cannot see. They could see the plan. They can see our connections. They see the purpose. Why did you meet so-and-so? Why did this thing happen to you? Why are you here? What is your purpose? They know all of that, right? So it can be confusing because when people talk about the 5D, some people actually think that when you've entered the 5D, that you are actually living in the 5th dimension, right? But that's impossible because we're in a physical body and we cannot live in the 5th dimension. We're in the 3rd dimension. So when you talk about shifting into 5D, they're not talking about you physically shifting into the 5th dimension. What it indicates is that your consciousness shifts into the 5D. So we're talking about consciousness here, your awareness. So moving from 3D consciousness into 5D consciousness indicates that your awareness and your consciousness has moved up to the level of your spirit guides, right? Or it's almost at that level. And when your consciousness and your awareness rises to the 5th dimension and becomes 5D consciousness, then your life gets a lot easier. You get into the flow. So what's happening on the planet right now is many people are moving from 3rd dimensional consciousness into 5th dimensional consciousness, right? So when you talk about people talking about, are you in the 5D? We are all moving into the 5D consciousness. The whole entire planet is shifting, right? It's just that some people have shifted there a lot faster than other people. Once your consciousness level shifts to the 5D, everything changes, right? So there's a lot of people that want to be in the 5D, right? They want their consciousness level to be 5D consciousness and not 3D consciousness, which, by the way, like I said, eventually everybody on the planet in the next couple hundred years will be in the 5D. We are all shifting into 5th dimensional consciousness right now. As I record this, there's a great shift happening on the planet right now, right? The old Earth is crumbling and a new Earth is being created. And so this is going to take a while. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over the next couple hundred years on the planet. But make no mistake, we are in that shift right now. We are in the middle of the shift. But there are some people that are getting there first, right? They're getting there light years ahead of everybody else. So we're going to talk about in this video if you are one of those people. And by the way, if you want more information on this great shift that is happening on the planet right now, you could check out a video that I did on this. I will put a link to it below in the description box. But let's talk about the 5 signs. And we're going to go backwards. We're going to start with number 5 first. So number 5 is that you've recently had a spiritual awakening. So this is going to be different for everybody because everybody's spiritual awakening is different, right? But in general, your level of awareness has greatly improved. So you're becoming more open, you're becoming more aware of things that have been hidden, right? Hidden truths, hidden knowledge that has been kind of hidden from the world. So maybe you've just recently got into numerology, right? If you're watching this channel, maybe you're one of those people, or astrology, or some other aspect of spirituality that kind of led you into it. But you're starting to learn about truths that kind of have been hidden from the world. And your awareness is starting to increase because you realize that there's a lot more to this world than what we have been told, right? There's a lot more than what we have been shown. And so you're starting to discover that. You're on the path to discovering what that is. And like I said, it's going to be different for everybody because everybody's spiritual awakening is different. Nobody has the same exact awakening. But you know in your heart that you either had one or you are currently in the process of an awakening, because now you are seeing things, you're seeing the world a lot differently than you used to, right? If that has happened for you or that is happening for you, then that's the number 5 sign that you are living in the 5D. And that's a huge sign because you're starting to become aware of the plan. You're starting to become aware of what that plan is for you, right? Now that leads us into number 4. The 4th side that you are living in the 5D is you feel like you are a completely different person than you used to be, whenever that is for you. So for some people, this might be that you feel like a completely different person than you were a year ago, right? Or you feel like you were a completely different person than you were 10 years ago. For other people, it could be, well, you feel like you're a completely different person than you were a month ago, right? So it's going to be different for everybody, but you feel like there's been this massive shift in your identity, an identity shift. Like you just don't feel like you're that same person, right? You know that you are the same person, right? But you just feel completely different than you used to be. Something has changed, and that feeling and that knowing that there's been a massive shift in your identity, that's going to be number 4. And that leads us to number 3, the 3rd sign, which is that you feel much lighter than you used to, right? So you're not carrying around as much baggage as you used to. You've let a lot of that baggage that you were carrying before in the past, you've let a lot of that go. And so because you have let that baggage go, you feel now that you are much lighter. And your world, your life could be a lot more optimistic. You could be feeling more optimistic about yourself. You could be feeling more optimistic about your future. You could be feeling more optimistic about the world that we live in, right? Because you're not carrying around as much baggage. So that's going to be a huge indication, right? A huge indication that you're living in the 5D, right? Because, you know, think of the 5th dimension. Our spirit guides living in the 5th dimension. They're not carrying around any baggage. They're standing on top of the building, and when you're on top of the building, all the stuff that happens below on the ground doesn't affect you, right? Because you're up in the clouds. You're above all of it. So that's what 5D consciousness is. Think of it that way. It's like being above all of the mess that happens on the planet because you're at a higher vantage point. You're standing on top of the building and you can see things that other people cannot see. And part of this number 3 sign is that you don't get triggered as much as you used to, right? You don't get triggered as much because now you understand that everything happens for a reason, and that thing that happened to you in the past that you were holding on to, well, maybe if that hadn't happened, you wouldn't be where you are now, right? So there was a purpose for it, and you actually ended up benefiting in the end. You're not carrying around as much baggage. You're not getting triggered as much as you used to because there's not as many landmines, right? That's what, when you get triggered, it's because you have a lot of landmines inside of you. And when you get triggered, it's like one of those landmines, one of those points inside of you that's been damaged, it goes off. But when you let go of some of the baggage and you heal from some of the things that have happened to you in the past, then there's not as many of those weak points or those landmines within you that get triggered anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that you never get triggered, okay? Because we all do. We all, even if you let go of a lot of the baggage, you're still going to have some. okay? Because you are a human living in a human body. So unfortunately, even if you're in the 5D, you're always going to have a little bit of baggage, but it's just not happening as much. It's not happening as frequently as you used to. So that leads us into number 2. This is a big one. Because of that, because of all of that healing that you've done, letting go of the baggage, not being triggered as much, because you're seeing things from a higher perspective, right? Now you see the purpose in the plan. But with that comes authenticity. Now you can be more authentic. And so the second sign that you are living in 5D consciousness is that you are living authentically. You are being your authentic self, at least 90% of the time, right? When you communicate with people, you're being yourself. When you are at work, you're being yourself. You feel comfortable being your authentic self. So maybe before in the past, you might have tried to hide who you really were, right? Or you were scared to show the world who you really were. But when you're living in the 5D, you don't do that, right? You don't have a need for people's approval as much. You don't really care about people approving of you as much, right? So you can be more authentic, not worrying about if people are going to like you or not, right? You don't care about being judged as much. You don't put as much importance to it anymore as you used to. Now, that doesn't mean that you're perfectly authentic all the time, right? If you are at least your authentic self and living an authentic life at least 90% of the time, right? And that is the second sign that you are living in the 5D. Now, this leads us to number 1. The number 1 sign that you are living in 5D and that you have shifted into 5D consciousness. And that is love, right? You are a more loving person. You're a more loving person. You're a more compassionate person. You're a more understanding person than you used to be, okay? Whatever that was, right? Because it's different for everybody. But if you compare yourself to the way you used to be, you will notice that now you have more compassion for people when they make mistakes. Or, you have more love for random people that you've never even met before, strangers, right? And that's because fifth dimensional beings, they live in the energy of love. They live in the energy of compassion and understanding and forgiveness. So remember, these are beings that are standing on top of the building. And so they know that certain people come into our lives that are going to cause problems, cause damage, right? But we signed up for that before we were born because that's what Earth is. It's all about contraction and expansion, right? We have these roles where somebody's going to be the good guy and somebody's going to be the bad guy, right? And we play out these roles with people. In a lot of situations that you've lived through, there's been a good guy and there's been a bad guy, right? Sometimes you were the good guy and sometimes you were the bad guy. But when you're at a 5D consciousness level, you don't see bad as being bad. And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because we live in a duality world where something's either good or it's bad. But in the 5D, in the fifth dimension, there is no such thing as bad because all people that do bad on the planet, they're doing it for you to have soul growth, right? So somebody comes into your life and they cause all kinds of problems. Somebody in the 5D would say, well, first of all, I signed up to have that relationship with the person. We signed up before we were born that person was going to be the villain in the play. And I was going to be the good guy or whatever. And that person was going to come in and wreck my life, right? But the person in the 5D knows that as a result of that happening, you would have a lot of growth and expansion, right? And you would become a much better person and you would achieve great things as a result of that happening to you. Because in the 5D, they understand that expansion cannot come without contraction. So there has to be events and there have to be people in this world that cause contraction to happen so that expansion can happen. It's all just part of the play. It's all just part of the movie. It's part of the script. You wouldn't want to go and see a movie if there wasn't a bad guy or a villain in the movie, right? So in the 5D, they understand this. They're seeing it from a higher perspective. They see that the bad events that happen on the planet to the masses, as well as things that happen to us individually, they don't see it as being bad like we do because they know that there's a purpose for it. And that even though it was a difficult event, or even though it was a difficult person, you still had a lot of growth as a result, and you had expansion as a result. So they don't see it the way we do, and so they have love for everything. They have love and understanding, and they have compassion, and they have forgiveness for everything. And so that is the number one sign that you are living in 5D, is when you feel like your heart has expanded. You're more compassionate towards people. You're more understanding when people make mistakes. You are more grateful to the people in your life that are there. This feeling of love and compassion is something you will have for all things on the planet, right? All of the things on the planet, because it's all part of the script and it's all part of the movie. And this is a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to have love for the people that do wrong in the world, right? And this is how we can tell the difference between the person living in 3D versus the person living in 5D, is that the person in 5D will not judge that person as much. They will have more understanding as to why that person did what they did, and see it from a higher perspective. But you still have love and you still have compassion and understanding for them, then that is the biggest sign that you are living in the 5D, because that's what 5D consciousness is at the simplest level. It's all about living in the heart. And once that happens for you, that is a huge sign that you are living in the 5D. But let me know in the comments below if you got all 5 of these signs, or if not all 5, which ones did you get? Let me know in the comments below, because I definitely want to know if you are living in the 5D. And if you like this video, hit the like button and share it with other people, because it helps to get this information out there when you do that. And we want to help as many people as we possibly can. So like the video, share it with other people. I would love to have you subscribe and to become part of the family. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.